Hey, it's Kley. Welcome to another video. This is going to be an in-depth explanation walkthrough of how I've used some different techniques and methods to take my tube amps, which are really loud but really awesome, and try to control them, but also keep some of their tone in a home recording environment. Basically silent recording in a way that keeps the tone natural and straightforward. Got some new tools to show off, but also been doing something like this for a long time and kind of wanted to share some of my tips and ideas as to how I make this work. I'm going to go all the way through the signal chain and hopefully can help you guys get some guidance on how to set up a home recording with your tube amps on your own. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, step one is to get yourself some twins. Oh wait, just kidding, that's something else. For real though, step one is to start with your guitar, just like you normally would. Guitar, baby, cable, pedals, if you want to use them, tube amps. Everything up to this point is totally normal, like any other guitar rig. But this is the point where it gets kind of different, and we need to start making some special precautions. Normally, the next step would be to plug into a speaker cabinet. However, we're not doing that. We're going for a silent recording rig. And what we need to do instead is find something that substitutes a speaker cabinet. And when you're running a tube amp, it requires a load. Typically, the speaker provides that load. What happens is these amps, these beautiful things here, they've got these big honking things called transformers. And transformers are very important. They turn all the energy created by the tubes into audio waves, which the speaker produces as sound. That creates a lot of acoustic energy, and the problem is that if you don't take care of that acoustic energy somehow, you're going to damage your transformer. Think of it like if a body of water is looking to flow through a creek or something, and it gets dammed up, eventually that dam is going to break through and cause a big explosion. So you need something to absorb that energy. So this is where things get pretty critical. What I've got here are two attenuator load box type devices, and they are essential to take that energy created by your tube amp and typically convert it into heat, thereby absorbing that energy and dissipating it safely. So you're not going to blow up your tube amp. Now I've got a Weber Mass here on the right, which I've been using for a long time. I've also got a Torpedo Captora, which is one of my newest devices. A lot of fun with this bad boy. And the type of load that these provide is very important. The big difference, well, I guess, to be honest, I'm not even exactly sure what kind of load the Weber Mass applies. My understanding is that there is an actual speaker coil inside of this box, but the 2 Notes Torpedo Captor has the advantage that it uses a reactive load. That's really important. Other load boxes will use resistive loads, which are safe. They provide a good load, but they don't provide the same sort of realistic interaction between the amp and the speaker, which is really important. When the amp is doing its thing and it's talking to the speaker, there's this really powerful interaction, a back and forth, a dynamic relationship of give and take, where the amp and the speaker talk to one another. And a reactive load mimics that communication, and in my experience is essential to getting a realistic tone and feel from your tube amp. A resistive load, on the other hand, now again, that's going to be most of your more inexpensive or older attenuators are going to be using resistive loads. They're not going to provide that same level of tone and feel compared to a reactive load. So when you're looking at load boxes, read the fine print. If it says reactive load, that's a good sign. If it doesn't say anything, you can assume it probably is a resistive load. It's kind of like nitrocellulose lacquer finish. If they go to all the pain and expense of doing it, they are going to tell you about it. So get the reactive load. It makes a big difference. Your attenuator load box should have some sort of line output, and that is where you're going to use a run-of-the-mill instrument cable. You want to run that instrument cable into your audio interface. Now what happens here is you've got the tone of your amplifier, which is important. You've got a good load applied, but at this stage of the game, it's not going to sound very good. Amplifiers without speakers are very unfiltered and sound very harsh and buzzy. So the tone that you're recording into your audio interface is not going to sound very good, but we've got to get it there. A typical audio instrument cable is fine at this point. We've got a line level signal, and the interface, really the only job there is to provide an accurate and safe load so you're not clipping. And then also you really needed to do some digital or analog to digital conversion so that your computer can read, interpret, and understand that input signal. All right, if you've made it this far, then you are going to be looking at your computer. You need to have some sort of DAW, D-A-W, Digital Audio Workstation. I use Reaper. It is a piece of software that helps you record, edit, process, and export audio signals. It's exactly what you want. You'll have something that looks like this. This is currently my voice that I'm recording as you hear it now, but it could just as well be a guitar track. So I'm going to add another one, like this one here, and within your DAW, you should have the ability to host VST plugins. Now, what I use is impulse responses, and they provide the same type of EQ filtering that a speaker does to take that harsh buzzy signal from the amp directly and convert it into a tone that we like and can use. And those impulse responses are hosted with a VST plugin within your DAW. This all sounds like garbage and gibberish. I've got a link in the description below to a video about how to install VST plugins, so check that out. But I'm going to keep going, assuming you know how to use VST plugins and get them into your DAW. So I'm going to open up my plugin list here, and what I use is Pulse VST. I will have a link down in the description. It is free of charge. You can use it however you like. It is a very good, very lightweight, very powerful, and effective sounding impulse response host VST plugin. Within this, all it does is host impulse responses. Now, I purchased a pack of impulse responses from Ownhammer. It's this 212 Mars 66, and I have all these are all different types of speakers that were put into this 212. So for example, let's see if I want to use a vintage 30 English 8 ohm. Then I have these different microphone choices: condenser, dynamic. Then we've got some mixes: high gain, low gain, medium gain, Scott Peterson, ribbon, rear, room. It's just different sounding tones. They all have a little bit of a different, the placement of the microphone is really important. But don't want to get too bogged down in impulse responses. This is a deep topic all on its own. But find some impulse responses that you like. I really like this cab pack from Ownhammer and highly recommend it. And go ahead and load it up. This program, I want to make sure existing or whatever this is, impulse response is selected. I like to add a little bit of a high pass to about 70, low pass to about 15, and we're good to go. I could add another one over here if I wanted to. I could add a room and turn it on, mix the two together, get a lot of cool different sounds going on with this track. And for me, the impulse responses are really an important part of this. And anytime you're using any sort of digital amp modeling, the cabinet sim is crucial. And I think impulse responses are definitely the best way to go. So whether you're using a modeling plugin or using something set up like this with a tube amp, the speaker sims that you use are really important. So spend some time getting some impulse responses you really like and use. And once you find some go-tos, then save those as presets. I've got some saved here. Vintage 30, an EV, just some different ones that I use a lot. And I found once I found a setup I like, I stick with it and I use it, and it sounds great. So that's basically the setup. From there, you have a guitar tone that you can process just like anything else, as if it came from a microphone, and tweak to your heart's content. But anyways, this is my method that I've found to provide some of the best tones in a home silent recording setup using tube amps. I live with really young children, as we've seen, and so it's crucial for me to get good tones without making them cry. And so this is how I found works for me. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the description below. If not, I will see you again soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye.